Hey, Brandon here. Welcome to a special edition of the Devy to Dynasty podcast. I have a very special guest with me today, Washington wide receiver Rome Odunze. Rome, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Brandon. I've been anticipating this for a minute now, so it's exciting to finally be on here.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. It's been a goal of mine on this podcast to interview some college players who potentially are going to go to the NFL. We're going to get into that with your profile and everything, but I figured I'd start the show, and I'm sure the first thing people are going to ask who have been listening to my podcast and watch this on my YouTube channel is how you and I and our paths have crossed. And so I was going to give a real brief story of, I've been watching you play for a couple years now. In 2021, I started making some game films of you. Enjoyed watching you play, and your dad. I posted him on Twitter and on my YouTube channel. And your dad actually reached out to me and was saying, "Hey, thank you so much for believing in my son and putting out these films and stuff like that." So, and then I said, you know what? Like 3 or 4 months ago, I said to myself, I think I'm going to just reach out to him and see if maybe I could get you on the podcast. And he said, well, let me check with my son and see if we'll do that for you. And well, here we are now. So I really appreciate you stopping in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's been a good journey thus far. I can recall some of the videos and things that you were saying, man. And I appreciate all those things. How my pops is on Twitter. We'll get into that, but
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, he defends you out there pretty good. When there's like those stats of the 2024 wide receivers out there and who's going to the draft, and he's always plugging you up in there and defending you. So, I mean, my first question to you is, you're talking about your father. I mean, what has he meant to you through this journey of yours?
Oh, he's meant everything. He's been with me every step of the way. I remember when I was playing Pee Wee football back on the Lions back in Las Vegas. He would, drive 40 minutes to practice, pick up a few guys on the way, take us back, get us food, day in and day out. And I just remember those times, him always coaching me up hard, and he's always been there. And then it continued out through my career, through high school. When I was at Gorman, he was the loudest one in the stands.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I remember him just hollering, screaming. I'm like, Dad, like we're up 50-0. Like, what do you
Yeah.
want? But yeah, that's just the way he goes about it. And continuing to college, he remains a pivotal role in my life as a mentor, as a man I look up to. So he means a lot.
Yeah, that is. It's nice having that support system. Let's talk about your high school and your recruiting process. What made you go to Bishop Gorman High School? Was there a reason? Did you do that in anticipation of possibly playing in the NFL? Was there a correlation there?
My parents tell the story that I told them, like, I want to go to Bishop Gorman. I really, I'm bad at remembering all the stuff that of childhood, but that doesn't seem like something I would say. But both of them say it, and both of them say that I said that. So I don't know. Maybe it was kind of like a spiritual moment where something came in me and was like, go to Gorman, and I kind of decided like that. But I don't know. I felt like maybe I had come across, in Las Vegas, it's pretty much Gorman. That's the only, school that gets a lot of recognition out there compared to, like, California, Texas, Florida, where a lot of schools out there are getting, college coaches out to look at them. So I just decided, I was going to go there, see what was up, knowing that I wanted to play football in high school at a high level and compete. That's what brought me joy. So I wanted to go forward with that, and I just made the decision.
Yeah, well, that's great. When did that dream start for you? Was it before high school, or was it kind of during high school? Because I watched a another podcast on YouTube that you were on a couple months ago, and I think I heard this correctly, that your freshman year you played defensive end in high school. Was that
That's
true?
right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, initially it started the dream of becoming, a professional football player. That was really young.
Mhm.
I think I've told the story, like, when I first made my Facebook account, I was trying to play like games on Facebook. It was like Backyard Monsters or something, and my mom logged in there, and it's like all of her information on there. But like her birthday's still the birthday on that account and stuff like that. But the job that I put was quarterback in the NFL. And that was back, I don't know, when I was really young, back when I was probably 6. So the dream kind of started there. But at that point, it was just a dream. And It continued to grow and grow and grow throughout, my career until really I feel like something that was really feasible when probably like my junior year of high school. But yeah, I remember coming. I was a little lost because I played quarterback in little league, but it was never like I had an okay arm, but it wasn't like,
Mhm.
I was dialed like that. So when I came into Gorman, I got put at defensive end. I was like, ugh, it felt wrong. I mean, I was a ball player and I feel like I'm a dog, so I'm gonna go get it. Like I'm gonna make an impact any way I can. But yeah, I belonged on the offensive side of the ball. Really, I grew up playing, having that excitement when I scored touchdowns and stuff. But when I came to Gorman, I had a pal named Donovan Smith who was at Texas Tech, now at Houston. He's a quarterback, great talent. He played quarterback, so I was like, okay, I'll let him play quarterback. He was a little bit taller than me, so I was like, okay, he really does the quarterback stuff.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, I'll be his receiver, and played a little bit of receiver. Needless to say, they didn't really believe in my abilities, I guess.
Yeah,
When I
right.
started out, that's why I ended up, on the defensive end. But I'll tell you what, my defensive end stats, I was a monster out there.
Were you a monster? Well, I guess you could play all positions. Now, I think you said also on that recording that you had your sophomore season you were injured, so you didn't play,
Yeah,
right? And then your junior year is when your stats were incredible. Your junior year is when you actually started playing wide receiver. And
yeah,
at that point, did you know that that was the position you wanted to play?
yeah. I think so. I think that I felt like I've always been confident in my ability. Like once I get the ball in my hands, like I can make a play. I've always had, kept that mindset, and I think that you know having to play. I obviously wasn't the body type, right, to end up as a defensive lineman anywhere further than freshman year of high
Right.
school. So when I got moved up, and I seen just the style of wide receiver, and kind of how they approach the game and the mindset behind it, I kind of fell in love with that. And when I started to have that success in that position, I felt like that was the best fit for me, like you said. And I started to realize, like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna hone in on this and make sure that I could. And I feel like it was at the time where people were honing in on that craft, and really people started to respect, um, you know, wide receiver play and the technicians you have to be. So I kind of fell in love with that, and ran with it.
That's great. So, I guess from a recruiting standpoint, I'm looking at your list here of all of your unofficial visits. I mean, you got offers from some really good schools here. I mean, you got offers from Alabama, Oklahoma, Miami, Florida, Tennessee. Did they did they come to you like towards the end of your junior year or more the senior year? Did they start kind of recruiting? When did that recruiting process start? Where you started seeing guys in the stands? I'm assuming that's how it works. And they approach you and your coaches and that type of thing.
Right. I think that, after my junior year, it kind of just picked up. I can't really timestamp exactly within like my junior year and all that, but I think, by mid season of my senior year, I think I had all those offers. I can remember correctly, but yeah, it kind of came as an avalanche. I
I'm
feel like
sure.
how the recruiting scene goes. One school sees you, finds you, and then once you're in that circuit and it's getting fluctuated, all the programs start to say, "Hey, who are they looking at? Let's look at them." And that process kind of took off. And yeah, it was kind of crazy. I wasn't really in the mindset for that at the time. I just liked playing ball, so I'm sure recruiters that they hated trying to talk to me because I wouldn't respond to messages. That's really what ruined my texting game. I used to, before recruitment, I was like I would text back anybody, and a quick response, it would be quick. But after that, I felt like there was so many people blowing up my phone, and it was I always hear trying to see who's really rocks with you and that. So I didn't feel comfortable taking everybody's word, and trying to figure out all those relationships. So I felt like I had a strong connection with UW and kind of pursued those things. But yeah, it was like an avalanche, really.
I can only imagine, everyone doing. I'm sure your mom and dad played a very big role in kind of filtering through all that, all those visits and everything. So, what made you decide to go to the University of Washington?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it was talking to my parents, talking to those people that I trusted. in me, and I had been there for a while and seeing what they thought. And I remember talking to them, and they felt comfortable with Washington. They felt comfortable with the coaching staff at the time, with Coach Adams, and Coach Peterson was actually still the head coach at that time. And I really liked how they treated me as a person, really, and how
Mhm.
the values that they reflected. I felt like it was genuine. I felt like they really cared about me, on and off the field. And I remember Coach Peterson and Coach Adams, they was just straight up like, I think I remember them telling me like, this is going to be the hardest experience of your life.
Yeah.
Um, and I respected that, because it's like they weren't trying to sell me like, it's all gonna be okay, like everything's gonna be good, you're gonna be catered to, like, and all that, which I feel like a lot of programs try to sell me on. Like Coach Peterson went, and then we're just like, not like, this is gonna be the hardest experience of your life, or that you've gone through at this point. So I feel like that was something real that I took into a great consideration.
Well, I respect that. I mean, you go to a school that you felt more comfortable. I mean, you could have gone to those other schools, maybe a little bit more higher profile, but
Yeah.
and I can only imagine the difficulty of the experience going from a high school because you're young, and going into a college. It's a big jump, and well, that's good. I think you obviously made the right choice. So you play at Washington, and unfortunately, you go to Washington, and we have the COVID season, right, of 2020. I mean, to speak on that briefly, I mean, what was that experience like? I mean, did that just kind of, I mean, it was turmoil for all of us in the world, but I'm assuming it just kind of ruined your whole first year there.
Yeah, no, I mean, looking back on it, for sure, I feel like hindsight, I'm definitely like, dang, like I missed out on, a great opportunity, just because, one, through football, not being able to play, a lot of games, or, not have the opportunity to get out there on the field as much as a lot of other.
Hmm.
Two, like within just the college experience, right? With having to be locked up in my dorm room, and going about life way differently, having to wear a mask all the time, right?
Yeah.
So looking back on it, it was definitely, missed opportunity, for sure. But honestly, in the moment, I feel like I have a unique perspective from a lot of people that went through COVID, right? Because I was already going through change. I was already going through a change of life, like a new scenery. So I was already getting adjusted to the things in in that setting. So, life was kind of changing for everybody else, and nobody else was like comfortable with it, because, it wasn't a willful changing. Like,
Right.
their everyday lives, going through everything, and COVID hit, and then they had to do these different things. Me, like, I was in a completely different state. I was in completely, around completely different people. My mom, my dad are back home dealing with those things. So, like, I feel like everybody that came in that 2020 class, like we were all figuring it out together. And honestly, I felt like it was a lot of like character development for me, and my ability to, like, connect with these people and have this connection with everybody who's going through this experience together. But it's all new for all of us. Like, I feel like there was honestly like a good attitude about it. And there was a time where I feel like, I could completely focus on ball and making sure everything was good within that. And, even within my social life, I felt like people understood what was going on, but at least we were in it together, and we were experiencing this change together. So honestly, it wasn't as bad for me as I feel like a lot of people got.
Were there some seniors in that wide receiver room that really kind of helped you along with the process?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Puka Nakua, Taj Davis, Terrell Bynum, all these guys. I remember Ty Jones. They these are all guys who helped me out. I remember specifically Puka and TB really put me under their wing, and I felt like they helped me out a lot. Just, figuring out Seattle, figuring out UW, how to navigate, how to be social, and how to go about my business in a work on a work ethic basis. Making sure I'm getting in my extra work and going through the film, and doing those little things. But like I said, also finding ways to enjoy the great city that we're in. So those were two people that I feel like really put me under their wing and kind of helped me out.
Do you speak to Puka Nakua? I mean, now he's a Ram. I mean, have you spoken to him since he got drafted?
I haven't had a conversation with him, but I sent him a message and said, congratulations. I think I reposted it on my Instagram. So
Yeah,
yeah, his journey has been amazing. And
yeah.
he deserves all that he's getting. So
So 2021 is really your first season. You actually led the team and with 41 receptions, so that must have made you feel pretty good. your 2021 season. It's like really your first season, because I think you had played 4 or 5 games in 2020, right? So
Yeah.
2021, we're back to normal. Um, and then 2022, there's a big change in Washington. I mean, you're getting a new quarterback, you got all new coaches and offensive coordinators and wide receivers. So tell me what that process was like. And Michael Penix, what did he do coming to the team? What changes? I mean, that must have been a lot with all new quarterback, new coaches, everything.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that within the players and the people that were already here, like we had that kind of feeling in our hearts and in our minds that like we had more to give and there was more that we could accomplish, with on our talent level, on our commitment level, on our work ethic. We felt like there was more to be grasped. And I think that combination with the new people coming in with Michael Penix and the coaching staff with their hunger and their confidence and knowing like, yeah, that's right. Like you guys do deserve more, and these are the key components to get us to that point. That combination of emotions, I felt like was the perfect balance to elevate this team to a higher level, and I think that's exactly what we did. And like you mentioned, through Michael Penix, who is a great quarterback, but also a great leader. Initially coming in and immediately getting to work with us, letting us know the offense and everything, and being a guy we can look to elevate this thing. He did a great job, being a catalyst for that. And this coaching staff, I mean, deserves a lot of the credit as well. Their ability to come in and implement this system, get the trust of the guys through their workout programs, through Coach McKeefery's strength and conditioning, Coach DeBoer's message and philosophy. It was a great combination. I think that we all just kind of bought in together and understood everybody felt, and that pushed us forward.
Is it different catching passes from a lefty?
It is a little bit. I feel like I'm adjusted now. Honestly, sometimes like if there's a little wind behind it, it swings one way or the other that you kind of have to adjust to. But it's a little bit different, but nothing too crazy.
Nothing. I didn't know, because most guys are righties, so you get that guy throwing
Yeah,
a
I
lefty.
actually, I actually like it a little bit more because the ball spinning this way, right? So when it comes into my hand, like the torque is spinning into my right hand and I'm right hand dominant. So like I feel like I'm more comfortable like, catching that torque with my right under
Nice.
where a lefty is like you're catching it with the yeah, that's a little bit more in-depth explanation. But yeah, I like it.
It's great. I love scouting wide receivers. That's just a hobby that I have. That's how I got into this whole thing. Um, Playing the receiver position for you, like what is the hardest skill from a wide receiver, do you think? Talking about playing the position, it is playing wide receiver. What do you think the most difficult part of learning to be an effective NFL wide receiver is?
I think that the hardest part is understanding that one play is like to create one great play, one great catch, like every sequence of that play you have to execute. And there's so many different phases of a play, right? What you have to get your release has to be good. Then your route stem has to be good. Then your route break has to be good. And then you have to catch the ball. And then when you catch the ball, you gotta have the ability to get loose. So I feel like, you know, you mess up on one of those parts and the play's dead, right? It's a no good. So I feel like when I created that understanding that, each play you have to take into account all these several sequences that come together to create this play. When you create that attention to detail, I feel like that's what makes a really good NFL wide receiver and a wide receiver in general. And I feel like that's a lot of things that some of these young guys struggle at is like, you can't just have good releases. You can't just have a good route stem. You've got to be pretty solid overall and make sure that you're executing each play on every sequence so that way you can make the play.
Sure, sure. Now, what I look for when I watch wide receivers is physicality. You
Mhm.
know, can you talk about what is needed for that? I mean, like throughout that entire route, the catch point, the
Yeah.
yak ability, yards after catch, and stuff like that. I mean, do you feel that, the physicality is a strong, part of the position play?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it's something that a lot of people, look at wide receivers as, more soft or, considering, our position. They look see that was just catching the ball. But I feel like, we're always competing against, people in contact and, having to fight through contact at full speeds and have the physicality to break off a route and and use your arms, use your legs to leverage on, while another strong deep athlete is draped on you sometimes. And
Right.
I feel like that aspect of things. And then don't even get me started on the blocking game. Like, you got to be a dog. You running that full speed,
Yeah.
trying to block people, whether it's trying to go crack a safety or cracking somebody in the box, or trying to drive your DB out of the sideline. Like, there's so many aspects of the game that I feel like a lot of receivers have lacked on, for sure, with the physicality aspect. But when somebody truly embodies it, I feel like it's a definitely one of the more physical positions on the field.
Yeah. So what do you consider your best aspect of your game?
I would say my best aspect is my overall understanding of the game. I feel like I'm that growing in that realm, of understanding what needs to be done on a particular play to get myself open, um, and to get others open as well. I feel like a lot of wide receivers kind of struggle to grasp that concept of leverage and you know technique in the moment. I feel like a lot of wide receivers have great skill, to be able to execute these things in practice and stuff. But I feel like my ability to execute these things in game settings, and use my attributes, my athleticism as a whole, in these different and apply them to different scenarios, allows me to succeed a lot of the time.
I read a report in the offseason that you were trying to bulk up a little bit to get bigger and stronger. Can you speak to that? Is there a reason why you were doing that?
Yeah, I think that one, I think that I can carry the weight well. I'm sitting at 215 now. I played at 200, so I think that putting that muscle on, especially in my lower half, and in my shoulders, just allows me to create separation easier. I think that a lot of the times, I'm a lengthy guy, so I feel like a lot of time DBs are, prone to hold me more than usual than I see on film. And I feel like I caught a lot of those instances last year, where it was like I was getting PI calls, but I think I was averaging like one PI call a game. It was crazy, but for me, like, I don't want a PI call. I want the play. I want the
Right.
touchdown. So I feel like those are the plays and those are the things that can elevate my game. So I feel like putting on this weight, getting bigger, faster, stronger, and being able to maintain my quickness, maintain my speed, maintain my ability to get off, would just elevate my game and where I really needed to take it, especially entering to the next level where people are that
Oh
much more,
yeah.
that
Oh
much.
yeah. That's good. You talked about the high school jump that's going to be tough. I'm sure that NFL jump you're going to experience next year is going to be tough too. Now you played about 80% at Washington. You've been playing out wide and not in the slot. Do you have a preference of playing on the boundary versus more inside, or does it really matter to you?
No, I don't. I don't. I played a lot of inside, actually, when in the older offense in 2021. I played a lot of inside, and I love it there too. I feel like it's definitely two different types of games that you have to play right. I feel like the outside is a little bit more rigorous and more hands on, kind of grimy. Where I feel like in the slot you're being more agile, trying to make people miss, trying to get that little 5 yarder catch right there,
Right.
and this and that, trying to be a little sneakier. And I feel like being able to be on the inside for that season helped me with my game a lot. And I feel like I want to be all around receiver. I want you to be able to put me wherever you want in the offense, and I'll execute. And I feel like I can do that. So I'm fine with either way. You know what I'm saying? Whether,
Right.
whether I'm lined up on the inside, on the outside. Um,
You just want the damn ball.
I just want the damn ball.
That's right, and I hear you. So you're going to be a high profile player as you go into the 2024 draft cycle. How do you deal with the criticisms and the opinions of everybody? How do you? I would have to think that that's got to be difficult. Some guys I think can handle it probably better than others, but you personally, when you read, your dad's out there defending you, which we spoke about, already. Um, Not that anyone's saying anything really negative about you, but he's putting you up there with the top echelon wide receivers, which I believe is where you belong as well. But like those criticisms and those people say, "Oh, he doesn't have what it takes." I mean, how do you deal with that? How do you block out that noise and just focus?
Yeah. I feel like I've felt more of that pressure in 2021 with the negative stuff. Just like just because we didn't have the greatest season. I feel like for me, I try not to focus on those things. Honestly, like but I feel like a big part of it was like having the success last year and seeing all the like positive things that people are saying too, where like, okay, now I take it as like, it's the circumstances, right? Like people, are just gonna say what kind of flows with the narrative at the moment for the time. I'm saying so for me, it's like you can't look at the negative too precisely. You can't look at the positive too precisely. You just got to understand that where you got to check in with yourself and make sure where are you at right now. What are your flaws and what are the things you need to work on. And I feel like holding myself accountable in that standard allows me to block out all the even the positive, and the negative, so that way I can focus on what the now, which is the most important part.
Yeah. So, what drives you every day? Like, what is your goal? What is the why that gets you up and gets you, driving towards getting to the NFL?
I think my biggest why is just my heart. At the end of the day, when I rack it all up, when I'm out there doing what I can, I just hope I can look back and inspired people. And I feel like that mostly comes from my family and the way what they've come from. My on my dad's side, my grandfather's an immigrant. He came here with $75 to his pocket, and built and had I think 8 or 9 kids. I'm forgetting how many, and all successful people, all put in a position to have success. And same thing on my mom's side. My mom's father was had generations before him who were just farmers. We still have the farm to this day, dairy farmers. Hard, gritty work. Shoveling up cow poop. And
Yeah.
that's
Hard
grimy.
work.
What I'm saying? And I see that the position they put both my parents in to succeed, and I'm proud of them and the success they had. And now I see the position they put me in, to have success that I have, and like and all the great opportunities that I've had. I feel so blessed. Like I just can't help but want to use my ability, use my platform, use what God has given me to create that inspiration for others, for my kids, for my um, prodigies, for my people I connected with, whether it's my brothers or my friends or all those who look at Romo Dunze and seek inspiration. They can know that I did it the right way and I did it caring about people. So
Yeah, going back to that other podcast I'd listened to, you can tell you're a good dude. You've got you're humble, you've got your heart in the right place. You said you wanted to take care of your mom someday and
yeah,
maybe buy her a big home, right? So there'd probably be nothing better than that, right? Taking care of your parents, and after everything that they've done for you, that's very admirable on your end. So let's talk about the NFL draft. Now, you had the opportunity last year to declare for the NFL draft. And I remember, there was always that period, and everyone's talking about, oh, this guy declared, this guy declared, and I, doing all these films on you and stuff. I was saying, well, where was Rome's decision? Where is Rome's decision? Because it kind of came later in that process, if I'm remembering correctly. What was that decision process like? I mean, did you consider going to the draft last year? Or because Penix is coming back, Jalen McMillan's coming back. He was also eligible to go to the draft. What was Explain to me what that decision process was like? I'm sure that was probably maybe did you think a lot about it, or did you really just know you wanted to come back for your senior year?
yeah, no, absolutely. I was, thinking about it the whole time. Yeah, it was definitely a whole process that I went through. Talking to my parents, talking to the coaches, talking to, NFL scouts, just trying to figure out, what was my heading, what was my entry point into the league, and if that's what I wanted. And I felt like, I was gathering so much information, and I don't know if people think like it's cut and dry, like you enter the draft and it's like I'm gonna go right here, I'm gonna go right here. Like it's not like that. Like you never know where you're gonna fall. It's like the information is just kind of pulled out of thin air sometimes, and I mean you see it after example, right? With even Will Levis this year, and even I
Yeah.
feel like a story like Lamar Jackson, who was the MVP after being the last pick in the first draft, right? Like all these guys don't know where they're going. Nobody really knows exactly what's going on. So um, for me, having so much information, I just kind of came down to it and understanding that, I have a good thing here, and I have some unfinished business in college football and stuff I still need to prove, and a team that I feel like can reach even higher heights. And I feel like I would be hurt if I, left and didn't come and try and fulfill those opportunities. And I feel like if I do that, if I come back and provide be this asset to the team that I know I can be, and provide a source of light to this team, then all my personal goals will be fulfilled, and I'll enter the NFL exactly how I want to enter. And yeah, so it was definitely a process, but something that came down to my teammates, my family, and felt like I was in a good spot to further my legacy.
Yeah, when you say talking to scouts, were there certain, like, what is that? I'm under the understanding that there's like a grade you guys get as juniors and stuff. Is like
Yeah,
there's some sort of NFL grade that says, okay, Rome, here's your grade, and whether you like it or not, this is what it is, and you make that decision. And a lot of guys get knocked, and from whether it's right or wrong, the perceived value is that, oh well, if they don't declare as a junior, then they didn't receive the grade that they were hoping to come back and develop skills and stuff.
right.
And sometimes I've always felt that, like, Chris Olave went back to Ohio State, and he's going to be probably one of the best receivers in the NFL, for the next decade, right? And sometimes I said to myself, well, maybe he just enjoys the college experience and wants to come back and go for a national championship or something. Then there's nothing wrong with that, because the NFL will always be there. Of course, you run the risk of getting an injury or something like to that effect. But so I was just curious, is like, did you get like a graded paper or something
Yeah,
that just says like,
yeah.
hey, you got yourself a B, but you're striving for an A? What is that like?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, so from NFL scouts, I mean, there's talk, there's connection through coaches and stuff that they go through. But what's good? Penny's in here. There's stuff that information you get from all over. That's interesting, but there's also the CAC. Which is an organization of, I think, a bunch of scouts that kind of the school submits a form. They look over the form, and there's three grades, I believe. It's first round, second round, third or fourth round, and then return to school. So four grades.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and I got my grade. My grade was not what I wanted it to be, but I felt like there was so much information that wasn't really aligned. It kind of felt like there was no validity to a lot of the stuff that I was seeing. And there was no concrete, evidence to what, you know, I could get at. It's kind of like some of the conversations my pops has on Twitter. Like nobody knows where these estimates are coming from, where these things are, these people opinions are coming from. But yeah, like you were saying, I feel like it was a combination of that alongside of, I feel like, a majority of understanding, like you said, like I enjoy college. I'm doing just fine here. I think that
Hmm.
I can provide, like I was saying, I can provide an asset to this team. Like I'm in a good spot to even excel. I can only go up, in my opinion. And like you said, I would never think like you know think of it in an injury aspect and a risk aspect, because it's like I've been playing football for so long now. Like
Right.
I risk that risk. I run that risk every day. I'm not making my decision today whether I could go out, work out tomorrow, knock on wood, and get hurt. Like,
Hmm.
career's over. Like, no, that's not how you think. You go get the work, you go do it, and you believe in yourself, and you believe that things are going to go well. There's always risk, especially with football. So for me, I never thought that way, whether it was like, oh, if I go back injury and clearing my mind in that way allowed me to understand, like, yeah, being back in college football is probably the best decision for me, to hone my skills and be an asset for this team and go win a national championship.
Oh, I know. So that's going to be my last question to you. We're going to talk about USC and Utah in a minute, but so I'm seeing you mocked in the first round next year. All right, mock drafts, mock drafts. Like, how do you keep that noise out? I mean, I know your dad's probably chirping in your house, son. Guess what I saw on Twitter? You were mocked on, Todd McShay. I'm looking at something here. I'd screen recorded on my show notes here. The Chicago Bears at number 11 are picking you next year in the first round, right?
Yeah,
So
no, it's
how do you keep grounded, and then you got a whole season ahead of you, and then you're seeing this stuff. How do you handle all that?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think that there's a lot of noise out there with that. I think that sometimes I hear it every now and then, like in the mock draft, not in the first, and it's a good feeling to think that people see you that highly. But for me, I feel like I don't look at those things too often because,
Mhm.
like for some of the reason I was saying before, it just seems like the people that would put me in the seventh round, it seems like their reasoning is kind of off, and then the people that would put me in the first round, it seems like sometimes their reasoning is off. So it's like I don't really know where everybody's getting this information. I don't know, these aren't, set in stone facts. So for me, it's like those are the uncontrollables. I can control what, people are mocking up, what people think, um, of me in that light. For me, it's like what I can control is the product I put on the field. And at the end of the day, the film is never gonna lie. When
I
you turn on
like it.
that tape, the eye in the sky, is gonna show what I'm all about. And till all that film is in and those reps are counted, I keep to myself, and understand that there's always ways to improve and always ways to get better. And at the end of the day, when I put that film on, I want it to be undeniable, that I'm a first round draft pick, that I'm the best wide receiver in college football, and that's my goal. So, yeah, until it's consensus, I got work to do.
Yeah, well, I love that confidence, my friend. Is there like an NFL player you kind of model your game after or look up to or say, my traits are kind of similar? I mean, you must have some favorite NFL players, given your 6'3", 215 frame that maybe you compare yourself to?
Right. Yeah, I try and stay realistic. Like, I wouldn't go out there saying I had Tyreek Hill speed. You know what I'm saying? but
Let's not get crazy. All right.
uh, but I try and be realistic. I've watched a lot of Julio film. I loved looking up to Julio when I was younger, just because I feel like I have a similar frame and a similar ability to get in and out of my breaks, kind of with a smoothness that he does. Like when it kind of looks odd because he's that big, like he's doing it that well. I feel like I try and look at that. I also look at Devontae Adams. I love watching him play, because of his releases. He's just a
Yeah.
touch, and it's like he's unstoppable. It's kind of crazy how he can do that. And then also I like to watch a lot of Cooper Cup just because he is 6'2". Like when you watch him play, it's like
He
a
doesn't
five
look 6'2". It doesn't seem like he's 6'2".
at all, right? And it's because of the way he plays and his pad level and the way he gets in and out of the breaks. He plays like he has the agility of someone who's like 5'9". So I like to look at him as well. So I like to incorporate a bunch of these different things and try and model my game on their specific strengths, so that way I can create them in mind and be a whole wide receiver.
Very nice. Now, a question I forgot to ask you from earlier is Zachariah Branch. Just
Yeah, Zachariah Brand.
yeah, he just graduated from your high school. Did you talk to him at all, or do you have any communication with him?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, Zach, the Branch family is my family basically. The Branch brothers, Zion Branch, Zach Branch, they're both at USC now. Their coach,
Mhm.
their father, Shaval Branch, was my high school track coach, growing up, and trained me countless times. Owe him a lot. But yeah, Zachariah was doing his thing back at Gorman. But yeah, I keep in contact with him. He's a dog, man.
Yeah.
To wait see him have success at USC, him and Zion, who's coming off an injury. But yeah, I keep in touch with those guys. They're my young cats, up and coming. So
Yes, they are. Yeah,
guys,
they're you two are a little different in frame from what I can
yeah,
see.
yeah, a little bit.
Just a little, right? Just a
Now
little.
he can compare himself to Tyreek Hill for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, he's one of those shifty smaller guys. All right, so let's before I let you get out of here again, it's super appreciative of you jumping on this podcast with me today. Um, what's your 2023 expectation? What are your goals for this year? I'm assuming it's to go to to go to the Pac-12 championship and beat USC or Utah. I'm assuming. Can you speak to what your goals are this year personally and for the
Yeah,
team?
yeah, absolutely. As a team, we want to win a national championship. We talked about it. We feel like we have the skill set. We feel like we don't want to shy away from it. I feel like we would be selling ourselves short, if we went for anything lower than what's the pinnacle of college football, right? I feel like how could you be a program and that not be the pinnacle of your goal, right? You're just selling
Right.
it short off rip. But yes, included in that a Pac-12 championship, beating USC would be awesome. But yeah, winning a national championship, I feel like is at the top, at the pinnacle of our focus, and all the little championships that come along with that. Of course, we have to obtain, and I feel like that's kind of our team goal. Through that, I feel like if we accomplish those things, I'll be able to accomplish my individual goals. Some, winning the Bolitnikoff Award. Um, I want to have at least 1,400 yards receiving. I want to have 90 catches and then double-digit touchdowns. Those are my stat goals. But um, yeah, also I want to be regarded as the best wide receiver room in the country. As a more of a together, I feel like we have a good wide receiver core and we have a lot to prove. But with this offense, I think that we can come out and claim that.
Makes some. I've seen there's some guys out there putting the best, wide receiver duos out there. And I mean, you're up there. You're up there. It's Ohio State, you
Yeah,
guys, Texas, and USC, and stuff like that. So, hey, listen, I'm a big fan, Rome. Certainly glad you took the time to jump on this podcast. I wish you the best of luck this year, achieving your team goals, your personal goals, and I'll be sure to keep in touch. I know you're not a Twitter guy. I've been getting off Twitter a lot more too, but I'll be sure throughout the season to be putting some more films out on you and keeping in touch with your pop out there. Because I'm sure he'll reach out to me as well. So again, thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast.
thank you very much, Brandon. It was awesome. I appreciate the thoughtfulness of your questions. I appreciate all that you've done for me on the social media interface, rooting for me, and man, this was awesome. I wish you all the success as well. Definitely will keep connected.
Thank you. All right, man. That was awesome.
That was dope, man. Thank you.
So when you and Jalen leave,
Mhm.
right? One question I forgot to ask on the pod anyway. Do you and Jalen, you guys got like a little side bet who gets drafted first?
No, we haven't bet on that. We haven't bet
No.
on. No, we definitely in competition with one another. Friendly competition. It's been like that since we first got here. It's crazy. If you look at the stat lines, like it's nearly like identical. Because well, I took the lead, right, and then I played some games off, and he's come up, and like somehow, some way, we've always we're like, I think within like 100 yards of one another, and within like 5 catches of one another, and maybe a couple touchdowns from one another. It's crazy. But yeah, that's my guy. So I
Mm,
hope both. I hope it stacks up, kind of like Ohio State did the year prior, with Garrett Wilson,
right. And Olave. Yeah.
and kind of that kid from Alabama. Sorry, I'm forgetting his name.
Kid from Alabama.
Number one, he's with the Lions now.
Oh, Jamison Williams. Yeah.
Yeah, he was at Ohio State, but
Yeah, exactly.
he's
So
a dog.
all right,
Yeah,
my friend Rome. I appreciate the time. I'll let you get back to you're busy. I'm sure you're very busy. So
yeah, no, of course, man. Thank you for having me on.